We are now going to order the meeting of NAP for May 30 to 2024. Alright, so we'd like to do a roll call. Brian Jushinsky.
Present.
Michelle Santucci.
Present.
Jane Nye.
Here.
Seema Chandra.
Present.
And JLDS present. Would you like now? We're going to do. Oh, how about Florence Ram? Florence Ram is absent. Right. Okay. Now let's all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. And begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. We now move on to the approval of the minutes of the meeting. Approval of the approval of the minutes from the last meeting. Is there any motion?
Well, I have a couple of corrections.
Yes, ma'am.
Under the council comments, it said SEMA requested a future agenda item to address the lack of a sidewalk access at Lindero and Canaan. So it's not Lindero and Canaan. We have sidewalks there. It's further down Lindero, and I know it's not Oak Park, but Oak Park is, we're kind of landlocked. I mean, we're not like, freeways or stores. So on Lindero, when you're going from Oak Park towards Thousand Oaks Boulevard, there's no sidewalks, and people are walking on the street. And I've noticed some recent addition of a new sidewalk that, I don't know, Westlake or who put in, partially near the new pumping station. So I don't know what we can do. I just brought it up. That is there a way we can work with Westlake or whoever that area is to continue the sidewalk? We ended at the end of Oak Park, where Oak Park ends, but there's a whole gap now where there's no sidewalk. And I see people walking in the street. I go up and down the arrow. People are going 55 miles an hour, and there's people walking and jogging in the street. So I just wanted to bring that up.
So this is not at the corner of Canaan and Lindero, it's
No.
at the corner of.
It's after the end of Oak Park, where those last homes. Our sidewalk goes up to there, but then there's no sidewalk for a whole long section.
But you're saying it's not in Oak Park?
It's not in Oak Park.
Okay, then there's probably not much we can do, but I will look into it.
Okay, because I know Oak Park residents walk, and they're walking on the narrow,
Right.
and people are whizzing by, so it makes me nervous to see that.
Okay, thank you.
That was a correction. Okay, that was it. That was it.
Do you have a question, ma'am?
Just related to that SEMA, I believe part of Oak Park is not paved. I don't believe all of Oak Park has a sidewalk.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and when I was on the committee, the Oak Park Committee, Rancho Simi, part of the deal of giving them Oak Park land in which to build that plant was that they would do something for us, but no one ever brought up the idea of a sidewalk. We should have done that. I don't know if it's too late, but if they continue to do road work there, maybe they can finish the Oak Park side.
Well, I just noticed a new section of sidewalk was made from they're coming up Lindero from Thousand Oaks. They just added a whole new section.
Correct. But there's still some Oak Park that's not yet added.
But that's what brought to my mind, saying, wait, can we continue that?
It took 6 months for them to do it. They started in January.
All right. Any other comments
I did.
regarding the minutes? Yes.
Last month, I understand that there were some difficulties in listening back on the recorded session for the minutes, and in the public comments in particular, I noticed that there was omitted
16 with the presentation by David Sesek, the interim head of Public Works.
Brian, sorry, but this is the vote of the minutes.
This is the
not
minutes,
agenda.
yes.
And then the agenda.
This is on the April minutes.
Okay.
It says in that section there, Brian asked the locations of weather in residential areas. I also had asked if you could add why 2 out of the 3 proposed installation locations for the flock safety system, the license plate readers, are not in Oak Park specifically, why they are actually.
That's all explained, I believe, in the memo that you
Yeah,
had.
but I'm just saying, I want that reflected in the minutes,
Reflected in the minutes.
because
Okay, no problem.
I raised that. Okay, thank you.
Any other comment? All right. Is there a motion to approve the minutes with additions and with your comments?
I'll move that we approve the minutes on April 25th with corrections as noted.
I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor say aye. Those who are not in favor say no. And those who abstain say, yeah. I am abstaining because I was not here last time. Okay. All right, that is carried on. And let's now move on to the agenda review. Is there any motion to approve the agenda for today?
I move to approve today's agenda.
All right, and
Second.
second? Thank you. All right, would you like to approve? Those who are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And, yes, nobody is dissenting. All right, so the agenda for today has been, is going to carry through. Next is the consent agenda items, numbers 11 to 17. Motion to receive and file for items number 11 to 17.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to pull items 13 and 15. I just have a question for each.
Okay? What number?
13 and 15.
13 and 15.
Fire department and.
Fire department and the Oak Park annual cleanup.
Okay.
Um,
Any other comment? Yeah.
One comment I noticed, Jail, there was a attachment of a sheriff's, but it was for Casa Conejo.
Casa Conejo.
Right here, it says, I think maybe it got added by accident. The sheriff's memorandum, Sheriff Grove's office and the Casa Conejo back.
What page is that?
I don't know, it's in the attachments with the sheriff's, see Casa Conejo.
Yeah, I saw that also. I thought that was a misprint on my computer.
I don't have that in this packet, but I will get
It
you
was
that.
when I printed my copy as well. I thought that was part of the
Yeah, I
last
noticed it.
items, last meeting's.
Yeah, I noticed it in an attachment and also I have it here in the packet. I'm just wondering, is still our report and just the Casa Conejo name was put in by accident? Is it still our report?
I would assume so, yes, but I will definitely look into that.
Okay. All right, any other comment on this? If not, is there a motion to receive and file except for 13 and 15?
I move.
I'll second.
All those who are in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All right. It's unanimous. All right, let's move on to public comments. I'd like to hear from Cindy Stahl.
Hello, everyone. Good evening. My name is Sydney Stull. I am a government affairs manager with Athens Services. I am here tonight to just talk a little bit about our upcoming annual cleanup day. It will be taking place right here at the high school on June 8th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. We will be providing document shredding services as well as giving away some of our fantastic Athens compost. The compost will be first come, first served. collecting bulky items, which include things like mattresses and appliances, as well as electronics. Electronics being like cell phones, laptops, things like that, anything that's broken, as well as residential green waste and construction debris. I always mess up those words, construction debris. But I will be here on the 8th, and I hope to see some of your new smiling faces. In the meantime, however, I did bring some of these postcards, which I'll leave with you if you want to pass them out, and my business card as well, if you want to give me a call or send me an email before the 8th if you have any questions. That's all I have today.
What
Thank you.
time does it open up?
9 a.m.
9
June
a.m.
8th, 9 a.m. right here at the high school. Yes.
Could that be posted on the marquee?
It's already going to be, the letters are already in my car,
Oh, that-
but I didn't change it
Mark-
yet.
Why am I not surprised?
Thank you, but I didn't want to change it because the MAC meeting is advertised up there until
Of
tonight.
course,
I'll do it
of course. Well, you're always 2 steps ahead.
tomorrow. Got it.
And you accept paints?
What was that?
Paints?
Paints, we are not accepting any household hazardous waste. If you have like a container that has some dried paint, I'm sure that will be okay. If you have anything else that you're bringing, I would suggest bringing something that you might be questioning, and if they say yes, then great. If they say no, we'll see. But these have more than enough information, as well as on our website, on what we'll accept.
Right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cindy.
Thank you very much. Let me see.
Thank you, sure. I'll make sure they
I'm
get
gonna send
it
this
out.
cards as well.
Thank you so
Thank you,
much.
everyone.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Amazing.
Would you like to call on Harry?
Sure, should I step over here? Should I speak here or there?
Please, speak.
Thank you for the opportunity. Brian, this might be on your report later, but Medea Creek is looking fantastic. Beautiful foliage there. 2 years prior, Ventura County Watershed has cleaned out all the foliage. Want to make sure they don't do it again this year, that we don't have a surprise event where suddenly the trucks are parked there on a Saturday, and by Sunday night, all the foliage will be gone. So how do we make sure to go to Ventura County Watershed and get to the right folks to make sure that they'll clean it out because of one person at a park giving them a call and telling them that there's fire danger when none exists. So is that part of your report later?
Mr. Chairman, that is part of
Okay.
my report, but it is a very long, ongoing, and arduous process that I'm going through on this one, but we are getting there.
Okay, you'll address it.
Yes.
Thank you. Sure, Harry, you met there.
That's right, I know that.
Yep.
So,
Thank you very much, Harry.
Okay.
I'd like to call on Mr. Stephen Cozell.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you. Thank you, MAC members, for your attention and allowing me to speak. I'd just like to announce, on the same day as we have community cleanup, we also have the 20th anniversary of the Oak Park Community Garden, and it's going to be open to the public from 10 till 1. So after you drop off your stuff and get your compost, come on over and take a look at the community garden. We're on the corner of Sunnycrest and Hammond.
Nice.
You've seen us many times. We have a big sign up right now. And it's just a good way to connect with a lot of people. There's a lot of younger families that are getting involved, which is really good. We're getting a lot of involvement now, and that's what we're looking for. So come on by and give us a look. Okay?
Stephen, where do you park? Like, if you don't walk
You
there,
can't
where do
park
you
on Canaan, but you can park on Sunnycrest both sides. Parking will probably be a little bit in limited supply. However, you can go farther down towards Oak Hills too. It's an easy walk right up, and you have the south entrance of the garden, and you can come in.
Thank you.
So, Stephen, is it like an open house or just?
It's an open house, yeah, for 3 hours from 10 until 1. And most of the gardens will be there, the families will be there, and people will show you around and tell you what we do.
Okay, great.
Okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
Mr.
very
Chairman,
much.
question for Steve?
Yes, go ahead.
Steve,
Yes.
does this event require compost?
No, but
If you need some, I think we
we
have
just got a
source.
large from Las Virgenes, but yeah, I'm sure Athens compost is very good.
All right, thank you very much for that, Mr. Cozell. Okay, next. Supervisor Jack Correll.
Good evening, Mr. Chair, members of the MAC. I'd first like to start by introducing an interim chief of staff from my office, Ashley Bautista. She interim chief of staff, and let's applause for Ruby. She's got experience in the private sector at the city level and in the county of Ventura, and we're excited to have her aboard. Mark is on a leave of absence. Mark Gardner, my chief of staff, is on leave of absence for maternity leave, and so Ashley's with us leading the team, so we're very excited about that. And you want to add anything, Ashley?
We're just really happy to be here with you all today and look forward to getting to know you a little bit better during our time, so thank you.
Yeah. We did a walkthrough. I'm going to leave all this suspense and excitement to Brian. We did a walkthrough of the various channels leading up to the Media Creek and the watershed, which had been recently trimmed back by a contractor employed by somebody. And I think we finally got to finally got to solve that mystery. And I'll leave that to Brian, but I spent some time with the Rancho Cini Park District. There was also Public Works was there. We finally figured out who did work in what area, who's responsible for what, parts of the Red Line Channel, the watershed, the catch basin, and under what circumstances does it trigger them to come in and cut back foliage? And most importantly, the punctuation mark at the end of all this, and I'll let Brian go into the details, is that there's going to be a higher level of commitment for the Public Works to let us know when they're going to do any kind of work like that. Like me know, so I can let the MAC know, to your point, so that we can get the word out as to what the purpose of a particular clearance project. Sometimes it's to prevent the underpass from being clogged up. Sometimes it's to open up the channel that is essentially a release for flooding from a community. It's a community at the top of the hill
I've always known it as the Country Oaks apartment
That's
homes.
right, Country Oaks Farm. And you really don't, I'll be honest, you don't understand it until you go out there and look at it, and then it all makes sense, and we did that, so it was very helpful. But the interim director of Public Works is committed to providing information to me when they send contractors out to do emergency work, or just normal course of business kind of trim backs to keep the flow going, and so that I can pass it on to the MAC and other people in the community. We are dangerously close, and I'm crossing my fingertips to finishing our website and getting that launched. And that's going to be interesting because the one we have now really is not user friendly. People are trying to find the agenda for the MAC meeting. Depending on where they go to, sometimes it's a little bit of a labyrinth. When we get the new website launched, it will have more information. It's going to have greater details. It's going to have some photographs of our appointees and our MAC members. We're pretty excited about eventually getting that launched. We're very close, very close. So we'll keep you posted on that. And then when it is live, you can help us with some feedback. The Ventura County Fire Department is now headquartered in Thousand Oaks. We're going to do a ribbon cutting soon. And what's interesting about that is that just kind of brings the leadership team closer to this end of the county. And it's part of, I think it's an ongoing effort by myself and others to try to bring more county leadership and more county services to the east side of the county. So not only is the Ventura County Fire headquarters now located in Thousand Oaks, but there's a lot of extra room in that building. So we're going to identify other key services that might be able to be co-located with fire departments. People can go there, meet with the fire department for planning or inspections or anything that they're concerned about, but also might be able to meet with other county agencies as well. So we're looking into how to fill that out. And we'll keep you posted on that. There is a ribbon cutting. We'd love for the MAC members to come. We'll make sure you're invited. Family Justice Center. I'm passionate about family justice and family justice centers. somebody who's experiencing trauma and violence in family environment, whether that's a spouse or a child. It's key because in the old system, a victim of violence would have to find a way to get each one of the different things that would be required to complete a case, whether that's the police station, or whether that's the hospital for a forensic evaluation, whether that's the courthouse for a temporary restraining order, whether that's a community-based organization that provides services. Family Justice Center has it all in one. So there's a couple updates on Family Justice Center. We are going to have one in East County. We're not quite sure where it's going to go yet. It's either probably going to go in Thousand Oaks or Simi Valley. We recently received a $1.7 million grant for helping with deployment of the East County Family Justice Center. That came from our members of Congress here locally, worked on that. Tomorrow morning I'm doing a walkthrough with the DA staff and some other folks of a potential site in Thousand Oaks. Obviously I would like for it would be my strong hope to have the Family Justice Center in the 2nd District. And so we're identifying key kind of properties where Family Justice Center would be great. So good updates there. We hope to have a site selected fairly soon. We can announce that and discuss why that's so important, not just for the entire county, but for Oak Park. The last thing I want to mention, one of the things I want to mention is that 211. 211. I spent yesterday at 211. It was my first time over there. It was the first time that it had been my first time about a year. And I just want to share, not necessarily with Mac, because you're probably fairly aware of the opportunities and the service of 211. And certainly everyone at home and here, 211 is just an enormously valuable service that you can call for just about anything. And they will connect you immediately while they stay on the line with a key provider of that service in the community. Whether that's a government, or whether that's a nonprofit, whether that's a philanthropic, it could be a faith-based, church-based, they will find a solution. I looked at the statistics for the 2nd District, which includes Oak Park, obviously, and it's really interesting because it's different than the other districts. It's different, particularly than the West County. The number one was people seeking help for services related to housing. They were either on the precipice of having to move out and lose housing. They're on the precipice of being homeless. Or they were unable to afford rent, given all of the other astronomical costs of inflation and the costs of just living. And other services were related to just needing money. And there are ways to help folks. And the one thing that fell lower on our list than in East County was transportation. They can connect you to transportation if you need to get a ride to a medical service. They have 211 has access to Lyft and Uber rides for those who need transportation, don't otherwise have it. And it's a couple of quick questions. And I share this because every time I go there, I'm really inspired by how many amazing, the library, the bank of services that they sit on and can connect people with while they're on the phone and get them help is really noteworthy and impressive. And so I want to share that with you because as much as we can, we want to make sure we're using 211. 211 is a national service now. It's certainly throughout the entire state of California. But guess where it started? The very first 211. It's here in Ventura County. Right here in Ventura County. And the model that was created here is the model that was replicated statewide. And we do not, and here in East County, do not use 211 as much as other people in other parts of the county. And I think part of that is maybe we're a little more fortunate, and we don't need to have some of those services. But part of it is also education, outreach, just getting the word out on these great services. 211. The county of Ventura pays Interface, a nonprofit organization, to run 211 for us. They do a phenomenal job. Great people down there. And so I just wanted to kind of celebrate that service and make sure that I can share it with you and those that are watching at home.
So Supervisor Guerrero, so it's just like 911, but you dial 211.
211, right?
Yeah, I wasn't even aware of that, to be
Yeah,
honest.
211.
I don't think people know about it. I don't know.
I know.
Now,
Good to know. Everybody would know, should know that by now.
yeah, and there's an interesting dynamic that's recently changed because of state law. That dynamic is if you're a Medi-Cal patient or a Medicare patient, if you're a safety net healthcare patient, we know already that you can get reimbursed for your healthcare services. Well, now the state legislature has acted and it allows you to get support services if they're connected to your health. And here's an example, is that a lot of people may not make it to the hospital if they don't have a ride. That's now reimbursable through Medi-Cal, Medicare. Via 211 is now the agent to help connect those. You might not be able to get to your medical appointment because you need child care support or services. Now, connected, if you can connect the need for the healthcare treatment with the social service that you need, now that social service is now billable to help Medi-Cal. So all of these other barriers to good health are now chipping away at those because they're now reimbursable. And the best way to get both is to call 211, ask for their support on connecting reimbursement for services so they can avail themselves of healthcare. So there's all kinds of great things going on. And I think a lot of our folks don't know, and then we'll try to talk about it now. Maybe we can get 211 to come do a formal presentation. All the things I do. All right. Well, thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't know about it either, but is it something you think can also be included on the website? So that when people go, it's just an awareness, to raise awareness and education about the availability of it?
Absolutely. I know it's on various parts of the Ventura County website, but if it's not on the Jeff Gorell and the County Supervisor Second District website, we will absolutely make that happen because it's a key resource and the county pays for it to keep it going. Yeah. Any other questions?
I have one other question going back to your, I think your first agenda item or topic had to do with public works and then keeping you and your office informed of any maintenance or clearing. Is it just a notification or is there an opportunity for your office to ask questions, raise concerns before any work is done?
Well, I think that's always an option, right? I think the first and most important thing is the notification. And then once we know what's going on, that gives us a chance to ask questions. And these departments are very responsive to me, to my office, and to my staff. So I think it will provide that option as well. If you hear from them in terms of why they did some of the work they did when they did, it does make sense. It makes sense as to why they make some of these decisions. Part of the problem is that there's not a strong mechanism between making the decision, whether it's an emergency or just normal course of work that needs to be done in the channel on Deep Creek. There's poor levels of communication and outreach to let people know that you're going to do it and why, to get a little bit more buy-in from the community. And certainly some feedback that may help adjust precisely what they're going to do. I do think that my impression right now, having talked to them and walked through, is that everything they've done was, they thought, well-intentioned and in the best interest of Oak Park, but I want to make sure that we're all involved too, because it does the details, right? So, Public Works is not here tonight, but when we can, we'll make sure we get it back here to come give an update.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, let's move on to the next item on the agenda. Written comments, and there are no written comments for today. All right. Next, council comments. I'm gonna
that is enhance landscape, Dale Thomas from Supervisor Gorell's office, myself, and we did the drive-through of the community, and again, it is looking in pretty darn good shape. It's looking very nice. I have not received any emails or calls from residents on complaints about any of the landscaping, so we're coming along quite nicely. The Oak Park Monument sign on Canaan, the solar lights are pretty well dead. They need to be replaced, and we need stronger ones. We were once talking about doing live electrical wiring that isn't for the thousands of dollars. We would rather just probably go to a hardware store and get some really good quality solar lights on there. The new summer color plantings are going to be happening fairly soon, in the next couple of weeks. So that's great. One of the things we talked about, and I'd like to put it on for new business for the next meeting, is we think that at Welcome to Oak Park sign on Keene, we need a second one. Over on Lindero Canyon Road, probably at about Rockfield Street. That's another gateway into our community. We think that would be a very good thing to have. It would be, we're hoping, similar design if we can get it, with planting and solar light. So that was one of the things as a community we discussed, and I'd like to have that on the agenda for the new business for the next meeting, because I would like to make a motion on that right now. And then there was also some tree trimming that was done at the request of area residents in the Golden Eagle Drive and the Hawthorne Drive neighborhood, so that's been completed. The only other item of significance is Medea Creek. That's on the agenda later on, Mr. Chairman. I'll speak to that at that point. No.
Thank you very much.
Can I make a
Yes,
comment?
please.
Brian, speaking of solar lights, a couple of years ago, we added solar lights on the marquee boards, on both. Chuck Menard, he was here for Public Works. Do we know if those are still working? They were never really bright, and
It's not right.
we didn't have electricity here either, so he put solar lights on both the marquee boards. But at night, we can't read those otherwise.
That's true.
That's a very good question. They are working, but they are very, very dim.
So while you're looking at the other ones, can we look at those too, maybe write those?
I think we should. I think, yes, we'll add that into committee work.
Okay, great, thank you.
Great suggestion.
All right. Ms. Chan, do you have any comments?
No comments today.
Ms. Knight?
Yes, for Triumphal Water and Sanitation District, the calendar art contest, it's over now. The entries are over, and was May 20th was the last date to submit it. But we received over 20 entries, and it's for students K through 12 who live in Oak Park. They were invited to submit original water-related artwork to the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California Art Calendar Contest. And last year, we had a winner. I think the award was over $100. So it's a really great contest for students. They get big prizes.
Well, last year we saw that or here, right?
Well, we gave an additional award, but Triumphal gave her
Oh,
an award as well. And I just want to mention that the Pure Water Project is, moving forward, and we met Tuesday on architectural plans for the advanced water treatment plant in Aurora Hills. We're working with the city of Aurora Hills on the design. It's going to be kind of exciting.
oh, wow.
Yeah. That's it.
All right. So as far as my council comment is concerned, so last month was out on personal leave, or we say personal vacation. I have to go see my parents, and also just like to inform everybody that my work has picked up, and there'll be some challenges for me personally to maybe attend the future MAP meetings. And so because of that, I want to make sure that the service that we provide to the citizens of Oak Park will not break or still continue. And because of these personal challenges in my professional life, I would like to make a motion. The first motion, or well, we can consider it together, is that I would like to step down as chairman of the of MAP, and would like Vice Chairman Tershins to become the chairman for MAP effective June 2024. And so, and that is my, my motion. And second to that.
What's the policy?
She says it's okay.
Oh, I was just gonna ask, is this on the agenda?
No.
Yeah,
Okay.
maybe we have to go through.
We just have to agendize it in case I think the public may want to have comment and interaction. I know that we tried to do something at the Board of Supervisors recently, and because it wasn't agendized, we just had to put it on the next agenda.
Oh,
To give public the opportunity to comment. And so my question was whether this was on the agenda.
This is a surprise tonight.
Okay, so I would say that it's a good, you teed it up, but I think the vote has to be next meeting.
all right. So we will put that in the agenda for next MAC meeting.
And it's just a Brown Act thing, it's not a Jeff Terrell thing.
Okay, let's now move on to the consent agenda that we pulled out, number 13 and number 15, Brian.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just on item number 13 from the Ventura County Fire Department, great report. All I just wanted to make, it didn't say this in that report, but when the vegetation is cut down within the 100 feet of a structure, the dead material, the cut material, it has to be raked up and removed from the premises. It didn't say that in that report, but the county ordinance states you can't just cut it and leave it lying on the ground. That's what the fighters call fuel. And then, whether the fire's coming in and it burns the plant when it's standing up, or when it's lying down, it's still fire material. So I think it's important that the community knows, and especially homeowner associations, condominiums, that when you are cutting the vegetation down within the 100 feet, and the deadline is June 1st, your contractor also has to rake it up and remove it off of his property. That was the only comment I wanted to make. Okay.
Okay.
And then on item 15, the presenter already spoke. I didn't read it in the report. I just want to know if electronic voice could be also taken, and she said it is. So those are the only comments I have.
Thank you very much. We now move on to the regular agenda. Number 18, landscape committee report by Brian.
Okay, this is a big issue, ladies and gentlemen. This is probably the biggest MAC issue I can think of this year, and it has to do with the removal of vegetation along the Data Creek. And it's a balance between environmental protection enhancement and fire protection for our homes. Very delicate balance. It's not one or the other, it's got to be both. But we do have native species, we have invasive species, we have palm trees that are terrible in fire conditions, they're bad, and we have a lot of dead material that's in the creek system. We also have different ownerships along the creek system. Yes, a lot of the creek is owned by Rancho Simi Rec Park District. It's theirs. However, Ventura County Watershed Protection District, in some sections of the creek, have an easement, a legal easement over it for flood control purposes, which means they have the right to go onto the property and do removals for flood control purposes. That's all fine and good. And then Rancho Simi has some responsibilities as well on their areas. The point being is that it's, let me put it simply, a creek is a creek is a creek, and it requires what's called a routine maintenance agreement with the California Department of Fish and Wildlife. You can't just go in there, and you just can't do the vegetation with it. You have to go through Fish and Wildlife. And these routine maintenance agreements, they have a couple years of period of time with their life, if you will. And it sets out the conditions by which and how you go about doing the work, and having what's called an environmental monitor, a specialist out there watching the crews working, as to maintenance agreement, it is required that you have to have a plan. It doesn't have to be a fancy plan. It only has to be half a page, maybe a map with it attached. But it has to be submitted to Fish and Wildlife at least 5 days before you do the work. That way, they've been notified, Fish and Wildlife. Was that done at, the big issue is, was it done at Canaan and Oak Hills? We're investigating, we're looking into that. We're not sure it was or not. What makes this really unique is that a lot of vegetation was removed. I naturally assumed it was either Rancho Simi or Ventura County Watershed Protection District. I was wrong in both cases. It was Ventura County Transportation Department. So we have a third party that's not doing this. So that's, okay, these are the players. That's really important for us to know that. Why did this work get done? It all started because of the Woolsey fire. If you go up to Holly Tree, there is, that's called a stormwater detention basin. Okay, it's a basin area. It's meant for flood storage area. The hill, all the hills, all that accumulation, sediment, and debris, all flows down there. There is a drainage, but that's owned by Rancho Simi. There's a drainage pipe that goes underneath that community, underneath the apartments. It crosses Canaan. There's the girls' softball field, and then it crosses Oak Hills, and it dumps, if you will, it outlets into Medina Creek. That pipe, I can put my arms as wide as I could and stand up, and the pipe still is bigger than I am. It's a big pipe because there's a lot of debris. Because of the fires, that entire basin and most of that pipe was plugged up with debris. Can you imagine 6, 7, 8 feet of debris that came off the mountains? The residents panicked, rightfully so. They were really scared for flood issues. It ended up, Rancho Simi did go in, and they did clean it up, and it was a lot of work. Why? Because the debris got to the top of Holly Tree and flowed right across the road and went down into the apartment community, into their park. So they're nervous, and of course they should be nervous. They should be scared about it, and they want to service. It got done. Now, under an emergency process, all the agency Rancho has to do is notify Fish and Wildlife. We got to get in here, we got to get going, okay? Was that done? We're still investigating that, okay? I can't say yes, I can't say no, but it is supposed to be done. We also noticed one oak tree had been damaged as bringing the machines in. But it's cleaned out, but it's not cleaned out completely. It still needs more work. The conundrum for us as a MAC is, for those who were following us earlier this year with Deer Hill and pickleball and tennis, we, as a county, don't have jurisdiction over those aspects. So that is a process the community is going to work with Rancho Senior Rec and Park Board of Directors, and I understand that Friends of Oak Park will be working with that. So we can get at least the debris basin clean. But understand, that basin, that they are working with county transportation. About a week and a half ago, Supervisor Burrell, Dale Thomas, myself, David Sisek from Public Works, David Fleisch from Transportation, and Zach Miller from Rancho Simi. We all met on site at the corner of Canaan and Ansel, and we looked at it, and we started trying to disentangle this, and we are starting to get it disentangled. Mr. Fleisch said he would welcome a call from Fish and Wildlife if they wanted to discuss it. That was communicated to Fish and Wildlife. Fish and Wildlife are now going to be, if not already contacting Mr. Fleisch, they will be soon. It's important for the agencies, whether it's transportation, watershed, Rancho Simi. You have to work with Fish and Wildlife. You just can't, I mean, if you've got a routine maintenance agreement, it doesn't mean you're carte blanche free to go. It gives you a lot of authority to do the work. It's necessary, but they have to be notified. Okay? So we need to get that process in place. When I was out there, I said, you know, this type of work, this isn't planned in a week. It takes months to figure out, or a month or two. Can the MAC at least be informed by transportation and watershed and Rancho? Can we be informed, please, just when you're going to do the work, why you're doing the work? I'll ask, do you have a routine maintenance agreement? Or if it's not under a routine maintenance agreement, do you have a permit from Fish and Wildlife? I'm not here to stop the work. I'm here just to make sure the process with crews are doing the right thing and they're following the requirements of proper cutting and environmental protection. That's all I want to do. So I'm really super pleased to hear from Supervisor Burrell that this is in the works with Public Works and Transportation. Thank you very much. I'm sure there's no small feat, and I think as a MAC, I really appreciate knowing that. I want to work with Rancho to do the same. Why? Rancho, when we were out in the field, we heard, this is great news, it's also a little scary news, Rancho Simi has over $1 million grant that they received for the long-awaited vegetation removal of palm trees, yay. Invasive species, yay. Dead material along the creek, yay. And they're going to be doing that starting in a couple of weeks, and it's going to go through the summer, and they're going to basically go from Canaan to the Agoura City Oak Park boundary. That's a long way. And they're going to be out there working, and you're going to see it, and you're going to see what's going on. And so we want to have, we don't have the authority, we don't have the jurisdiction, but we sure would like to have Rancho Simi keep us informed. We're going to be in this section doing this work, etc. I've asked them, would you do us, I'm not speaking on behalf of the MAC, I'm speaking on behalf of myself. We have signs up that you probably saw when you're driving here. They're about this big, and they're on metal poles, and it says Oak Park Municipal Advisory Council meeting tonight. Could they make some of those signs saying, this is the work they're doing, why they're doing it, and so that, and their contact number. That way we all know what's going on. And also to make sure that they've got the proper authority through Fish and Wildlife because of being there. There's a high probability that some crews are going to take out native species. And that's why we want to make sure they have an environmental monitor up there. So everyone's got to play by the same rules. County Transportation, County Watershed, Rancho Simi recommends
Any question from the council? Go ahead.
I love your idea about having some type of signage up so that the community is aware that the work is going to be going on. I would hope that as part of that, similar, we've got a QR code on our signs, perhaps they have a QR code so that the community can look to see what are those plants that are deemed invasive or that are going to be taken out. I mean, obviously the palm trees. But I know there's been some conversation in the past about the reeds. Is that as part of the maintenance that's occurred, needs to occur, are those going to be taken out? Because, and I use that as an example, so perhaps not, but whatever it is that's going to be taken out or left, I think it would be good for, because I get those questions all the time, and I don't know except some of the obvious. So I think that would be also helpful to have some list of what is considered invasive or problematic or fire hazard, and those that are native and good for the environment that will be kept. And so, and maybe we can ask them to do that as well. That would be great.
I could.
Yes, go ahead.
Great suggestions, absolutely. It would be, it's an ask of them because we can't require them to do. But what's important is that when residents, when we're out walking our dogs or taking our hikes and we see this work being done, it's also for our fire protection. And that's really, so I mean, the key thing is take out the stuff that's bad for fires and dead stuff, leave the good stuff, and protect our homes and properties. That's what this is about. Yeah.
Any question for Brian?
No.
Okay, so I have a question. So you mentioned, Brian, that there is an investigation going on. So is that you who's investigating or who's doing the investigating?
Thank you. Oh no, I'm not investigating.
Yeah.
I'm
So
just in the thick of it.
all right. So who's
No.
doing the investigation?
California Department of Fish and Wildlife is contacting County of Ventura Transportation Acting Director David Fleisch, who is like the senior official who oversaw the work of this one particular section of the creek. Asking, let's see, let's talk. Let's look at the routine. Is there a routine maintenance agreement? If there isn't, why isn't there one? And what was the process that was followed?
And they will submit the report or findings, I suppose, after the investigation is done?
Yes, the wheels of state government move slow, so don't count on anything for the next couple of months.
Okay. All right. So my comment, so I agree with your sort of motion earlier that we could ask this various departments to give us some notice for some work that is going to be provided for Oak Park. And one thing that I would like to note is that when the Oak Park Committee for Rancho has been disbanded, we lost the ability to comment on certain work that they're doing for Oak Park. Remember before when they're gonna cut this tree or make some changes to the landscape, they give us an opportunity to say yes or no. And there's a report for that. But now that that committee's gone, there's no way for us in the community to make our comment. So is there a possibility for us to, probably not the right question, but can we ask them to give us a monthly report or something regarding any work that needs to be done in the future, as far as Rancho is concerned?
Mr. Chairman, well, I would propose, just like Supervisor Gorell was able to successfully do with Public Works Watershed, you'd be notified when work is proposed in the creek, whatever that might be. We could reach out to them and say, could they do the same thing? And I don't know if it goes to Supervisor Gorell's office, probably be the best way. And that, when you say report, I'm not thinking like 3, 4, 5 pages. I'm thinking like maybe a paragraph or two
monthly is too much, maybe quarterly is something that we can suggest, but at least some information to us that, you know, they're going to go to work on this, or going to cut some trees, or doing some maintenance, because we lost all of that when the committee got disbanded.
I'm just thinking out loud here, but I think that would require a motion.
That
But I don't know if that also is new business. I don't know if this is something we can make at this time under the Brown Act, or,
I think it's a request, you're asking
It's a request.
Supervisor Burrell's office to look into whether or not Rancho City is willing to give us a report similar to the ones that we get from law enforcement,
Yes.
fire, et cetera.
okay.
And that's certainly something that I can do. I don't know that you need a motion. I can reach out to CME and ask them if it's possible for them to provide it.
Okay, you don't need to leave the motion. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea, Jim.
All right, thank you very much. And so, you were mentioning a motion earlier that you'd like to pass, or would you like to table that for next month?
It had to do with signage, asking them if they, maybe it's the same way that Dale just said. Maybe we don't need a motion, but asking the Rancho Senior Director Park if they would be able to give that, provide
And just
public,
do that.
Well, I think if you're interested in making a budgetary investment in creating a monument sign on Lindero for the, and I think perhaps that might, you know, it might be useful to have a motion that will allow us to turn around and say the MAC has requested that an expenditure be made to build a monument sign on Lindero at the entrance to Oak Park. If that's a motion and it's been passed and then it's definite that that is something that the MAC wants, then we can certainly take it to the next step. So I think that's probably not a bad idea.
okay, I can make that motion.
Okay, but I thought you were mentioning about some government agency submitting some reports.
There's a couple items I mentioned. One was the monument sign, the other one was having to do with the routine maintenance agreement. There's two items I want. I just wasn't sure if this is considered new business or if I can make motions based on my report right now. I don't know.
We
So
don't
there
have
are
any
two
business.
different items.
We don't have any business. We just have the regular agenda items and the closing.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, because the monument, if ever we're gonna have that, we need some more information, right? Like how much
The cost.
the cost, is that going to be?
Yeah, monument sign may require community input as well, but
Yes.
directing our staff, or asking our staff and myself to look into some agreements, no problem, we can do that. And we can also reach out, as Dale said, to Rancho Simi, and that's not a problem, that's not really new business or Brown Act type of stuff. But a monument sign, and that probably would be something we want to agendize.
Yeah, I think it would be good if it's like to put it on as a new business item for June, but can we request at this point some type of cost estimate from the contractor?
Absolutely. You can leave that with me and I will talk to the appropriate people and find out that the MAC has requested additional information about cost involved in creating a monument sign on Lindero. And I'll find out who that needs to go to find out whether or not it's possible. Then when we come back and provide you with additional information about the time required, the cost involved, et cetera, then you can take a vote as to whether or not you want Public Works to fund that,
Okay.
as it were. Okay, so let's leave it for now as a request that you make to our office to do further research into this.
Monument sign, planting bed, solar arrays.
Got
All right,
Karen.
okay, any, yes,
Karen
please.
Mendez.
So any other comments from Brian before we go to the public?
Karen Mendez.
No, all right. Okay, Harry.
Just a quick question, so if people are clearing out some of the palm trees in the next few weeks, could part of that $1 million grant go towards signage so we know what's going on?
Through you, Mr. Chairman, I have to ask Rancho, because I think that the grant is very specific, but there's probably a community outreach component of that grant, you know, so I can certainly, or Dale can certainly contact Rancho and just say, in that $1 million grant, is there a provision for public information signage doing that?
Just one banner, kind of like what they have for Callegas. It took them 2 years to put up a sign. for the Callejas on Ladero, and I think it helps now a lot. People know what's going on.
I think the thing about it is that they are moving along the creek section by section, or what they call reach by reach. So they might be in 300 feet for the next 4 days. Then they're going to move down another. So you have to keep moving the sign kind of thing down there as opposed to structure.
Poles, and just move the poles.
Sign and poles.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Brian, if I'm not wrong, I think you've already requested that at Rancho, we're just waiting for a response from them right now.
I'm waiting for a response, but their point is we would consider it if the county of Ventura does the same thing when they work on projects in the creek.
Oh, that's okay. Any other questions or comments from the public regarding Brian's landscaping reports? Okay,
Thank you.
thank you very much. Moving on, number 19, additional information regarding LPRs or license renewals. So there's a memorandum from the sheriff's office. Is there somebody in who's gonna?
No, there isn't somebody here, but we received a memorandum from the sheriff's office that you have in your packet, stating why they suggested the locations. What we did was we went back and we inquired from the sheriff's department what locations they felt would be useful for further protection for Oak Park in order to put the LPR cameras. Captain Lynch came back and as I said, you'll have this memo in your packet and you can read it. But the most important thing, detectives determined that the most efficient and cost-effective plan to cover this entrance and exit point is to strategically place 2 LPR cameras in the areas eastbound Canyon Road, east of Falling Star, and eastbound Lakeview Canyon Road, east of Falling Star. Now, the question has come up earlier, these 2 locations are not in Oak Park, they're in Thousand Oaks. Well, the police department feel that both proposed camera locations, although within the city limits of Thousand Oaks, they provide coverage for an entrance or exit into our Oak Park through the Canyon Road corridor, as vehicles can access Oak Park via the Canyon Westlake Boulevard Burbs Road corridor and never cross paths with the freeway. These proposed locations cover this choke point or strategic entrances to the community. To attain the same level of coverage in this area with cameras mounted entirely in Oak Park would require 3 additional LPR cameras with all the associated costs with them. So this has been carefully studied and reviewed, and the feeling is that in order to keep costs down, that it's more effective to put the 2 cameras in these locations, even though they are outside of the Oak Park boundary, in order to cover the exit and entrance areas into Oak Park. There's a lot of statistics and a lot of valuable information about how good LPRs are. And I know this has been a ball that's been bounced around with the MAC for quite a long period of time. We've had several presentations on cost. You've seen the budget. You've seen the related costs to purchase LPR cameras. I think what has to happen at this point with all the information that you have received, and I would suggest that you carefully look at this memo from the police department saying this is the best way to do this, because I can't think of anybody who's better equipped to make that evaluation, certainly, than the police department. But I think at this point, we need to have a motion that you want to do this or you want more information, because this has been a bouncing ball for quite a long period of time now.
Okay.
If you want to move forward with the 2 LPR cameras in these locations, then we need to know that so that we can go ahead and start that ball rolling.
Okay, so let's have a comment from the council. So let's start with Mason.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Dale, for reading the recommendations of the locations, because in the packet we don't have the remainder of the memo of the back. It's blank.
It's as it was printed.
Yeah.
Technology is not my friend. Okay, it's printed on the back.
But thank you, very helpful. And this was explained to us in the last meeting. So it's nothing new presented this evening, but it is helpful to have it written so that the public can also see it. So I'm in agreement with the locations, so I'd like to move to.
Let's hold on to
Okay.
that. Any other comments?
Yeah, I think last time we asked about those 2 locations, so I'm glad they got back to us. And I'm sure I appreciate the sheriff's department for looking at it again, and I accept that, so I'm also in favor of it, if they've already studied it.
Any comments?
No, I agree.
Brian?
Yeah, I did a comment. I'm in full support of LPRs. I think they're absolutely essential. However, I am not in support of the locations that, all due respect to Captain Lynch, if I'm driving on Lindero and I come up to Kane in that intersection, these cameras are probably 600, 700, 800 feet into Thousand Oaks. Yes, it will certainly capture vehicles coming into Oak Park, coming down Canaan. But if I'm driving down Canaan and or on Lindero and I'm making a right hand turn into Oak Park, there's no cameras there. Okay? So in other words, we're not covered completely. We're covered from Thousand Oaks on Canaan coming in, but these cameras don't shoot over 1,000 feet away on license plates. I'm thinking with a better place for it to serve us, because this is coming out of the CSA 4 budget, is, and I'm just saying, Canaan and Golden Eagle Drive, there's signal lights right there. And that would capture a much better location to serve the residents of Oak Park.
But Brian, it mentions here that there is something at Lindero. I don't know where I read that on.
I can,
Okay, go ahead.
yeah, so there's from the 101 freeway entering north on Lindero and up to Oak Park, there is a camera, and that's where that would capture entering into the point that we were talking about, I think, Brian, so that right-hand turn from Lindero to Canaan, there's a camera on Lindero before that.
Where does it say that?
So that's in paragraph 3 after greeting, so it starts with many of these LPR cameras, that paragraph.
So Agora even has the camera, right?
Correct.
Yeah, but Michelle, I read that too, and it says Agora, but Agora is not on Lindero. Agora Hills doesn't have any property on Lindero.
It likely is an error, but if in fact that's where the cameras are located, whether it's Agura or Westlake or, whatever it is.
Thousand Oaks, but there is one. I mean, I drive it every day. You can see the camera.
Oh, really? On Lindero?
On Lindero.
And I'm sure if that camera that we will, assuming that we all approve this, that can be relocated if it's not effective. But I think the most important thing is that we are now bouncing this off, like Dale said, as far as this topic is concerned. So I guess it's now time to make a motion for us to approve the LPRs as indicated by this memorandum to be done effectively. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, may I add something for
Yes.
just a little additional context? When I talked to the county folks about the CSA 4 budget and these cameras, the expense of the cameras is actually not as high as I had anticipated. They're reasonably reasonable and are affordable. They can be absorbed into the budget of CSA 4. So if you move forward with the 2 cameras as recommended, we can take the concerns from one of the members of the MAC, just for them to relook at that possibility, because we're going to have a little bit of time before they're operational. Here's why. The CSA 4 is not authorized to pay for LPR cameras.
Oh.
That's okay. There's a way to change that through the LAFCO process to expand the role of the jurisdiction, that quasi-governmental organization, and what they're able to spend money on. And spending money on LPR cameras, especially in another jurisdiction, would be beyond the current purview of CSA 4. But we go through LAFCO, and I'm on the LAFCO board. LAFCO could expand the authority of CSA 4, and then it would move forward. So county council's already sent an email to me about the process and how to do it, but it's really just a process that we'll take care of if the MAC supports moving in that direction.
All right. Thank you very much, Supervisor.
Buys a little time to take
Pinewood, north of Tamarind.
Terrific, thank you.
Okay. All right.
I'd like to make a motion that we proceed with going ahead with these three LPR cameras.
I second that.
Second. Those who are in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those who are not in favor say no.
No?
And I think that passes. 4 to 1. All right, let's move on to agenda item number 20. Information provided by the MAC, Oak Park Unified School District, sir. Mr. Adam?
Okay, Mr. Video.
I'm
Benio.
Russ Radanow, Director of Student Safety and,
Right, you talk right into that, please.
sorry, Radanow, Director of Student Support and School Safety. And
And I am the Assistant Superintendent of Business Services. Thank you for having us here.
Okay, thank you very much. Go ahead.
Mr. Bradley, I was going to pass out some information.
Thank you.
Okay, appreciate being asked to come and speak to MAC. I know after last meeting, there was a number of questions about the crossing guards throughout our community and with our various schools. Some of the costs and decision-making over time, it was asked to provide a kind of a brief history, which I summarized through this packet. The packet has a lot of the former agreements that we've done between the school district and the MAC, and then, as you'll see at some, I think it was in year 21, 22, we shifted a little bit in terms of the direct communications and contracting with Public Works. But, you know, from really early on in the history of the school district, we've had this partnership with the MAC, with providing funding for crossing guards. And truly, as anyone knows, throughout any school district or anywhere, traffic and pedestrian, children crossing guards are critical. And we've certainly, as we've grown as a community, as a district, those needs have grown. And that's what this document kind of reflects, which is kind of, again, over time. Really, we had the history I could dig up was prior to 1994. Really, the main issues and concerns were over at Brookside, where there were some crossings, again, with Keenan, at a couple of main thoroughfares to go from the community over to Brookside. At that time, was really the only elementary school. And after that, again, we started adding schools. We added the middle school and the growth of the high school. So we started, I tried to reflect the costs or the budget items back then. And we started with about 4 crossing guards, and really they were focused on the elementary schools at that time. And as we grew and more streets, more areas and more schools, each time more requests came in to have crossing guards. I don't know that we're here more for questions and concerns that to go through. I don't want to kind of read through everything to you. I just want to provide the information to you. But you can really see where we started with the budget items in 1994, about 30,000, as we kept adding until we hit our current numbers of, we have 13 guards across the district. And it went from about 30,000 each year stepped up to that 13. Last year we had the projected budget of about 220,000. We actually added here, though, the actuals, because as I think was mentioned in the last meeting, there's the budgeted items, but the actuals come in usually quite a bit lower.
anytime the idea of crossing guards has come up, it's never been in isolation. Anytime there's a concern that happens, it's usually brought up to us as the district, maybe when we go to our, our safety committee. And then at that point, we don't essentially make the decisions on where to add and when to add a crossing guard. That is something which has been brought to, I believe, the MAC before. When the county comes out, they've actually shared their process with you in terms of how they've added crossing guards. And I went back to look at some correspondences between us and the MAC to say, hey, what is that process? And that is the transportation department that comes out. They're the ones who would make the determination if there's a request that's put in for a crossing guard. And that has to deal with volumes, morning and afternoon volumes, whether it's a uncontrolled intersection, a controlled intersection, or a signal intersection. And then it has to do with number of vehicles going through the crosswalk as compared to the number of pedestrians. But we're not the ones who make that determination. So what I can really give is the detailed history going back to 1920 when I was brought on. And that was a year that was 1920.
Wow.
I think I was talking about fiscal year 1920. I'm always dealing with fiscal year. But nonetheless, okay. 2019-20. You even said something. So in 2019-20, we actually brought to you a 13th crossing guard. That was the last time that I was actually came here at that time. Stuart McGugan, who was in Brad's position, requesting that 13th guard. And I know Miss Jane, you were there, and I believe Mr. J.L., you were there too, but you weren't up on the panel. I think you were nonetheless, I believe you were there for that. And ultimately, that's when it was discussed, the concerns, the transportation department it sort of checked the boxes for them at that point. You approved it. Since then, we haven't increased any numbers in crossing guards. Yeah, obviously we have staffing issues that comes, but never have we since 2019-20 increased beyond the 13th. What has increased, I think, as we all know over the last few years, especially with COVID and inflation, as you can see, which we wanted to really show here is, obviously we have a projection which we get from all cities based on hours that they project for the year, based on the schedules that we provide. And then they have their hourly rate, and then I think it becomes a simple calculation. And then, of course, there's bills that come every month, and that depends on, filled spots and how many people actually show up. And throughout the year, there might not be 13 crossing guards, and so therefore, there's, like we deal with in our budget, vacancies that happen, and there's a savings. And you can see along the way, especially in the COVID years, that there was a lot of, from the projection that All City gave us to what we actually, the actual costs were very significantly different. And then inflation hits, and we've seen the hourly rate, the request from them has increased, which has also helped with, which we have done as a school district and many agencies have. They've had to increase the hourly rates in order to fill positions and get people there. It's translated into a year where we've probably had the least amount. When you look at what we, this year in 23-24 with 13 crossing guards projected, we had $220,000 in projected costs. Actuals to date, which means it's to date, the school year's not over, so we anticipate, there'll be another bill. We're at, $210,000. So they fill the positions, and that's obviously, you want to attract people and have those positions filled, and you can see a correlation there between the rate at which they're paying and, jobs being filled. And so with that, I'd like to open it up to any questions that you may have.
And I provided the maps, you asked for maps of locations, and kind of, there's a chart of kind of which intersections were originally placed in kind of the progression.
All right, council comments.
So I just noted that there's no crossing guard
shame on me for not checking what the invoice amounts come in per month to be able to tell you that. You know, I would say we haven't gone over yet, but if I were to break that up, it depends. Let's see if this does, you know, how much of this reflects in terms of for the month of May, what that's going to be. So there is potential there, but I have to get back to you and actually check that.
So is this are the actuals to date through May, or do you get billed monthly? Is it semi-monthly, and is it through the
It's
last
monthly.
bill?
Yeah, through the last bill.
So April.
Yeah.
So we still have May and June.
We won't have anything in June.
But for May.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, there will be some.
For summer school, yeah.
Okay. And the only other question I have was for 2022, 2023. I think you said there hasn't been an increase in guards, so it didn't list it here. There were 13 guards in that fiscal year as well.
Correct.
Okay.
Since 2019-20.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes.
You know, we've been going through our budget, so that's why we've been discussing it. And as you know, we also have budget constraints. And I'm all for crossing guards. I don't want anyone to, I mean, safety is number one. But I also like to balance that with the budgets. I mean, $35.77, I'm sure that's not the hourly rate. I guess the company must have to have some extra cost per crossing guard. But it's really high for crossing guards. And 13, I think last month we received a, I didn't bring it with me, but crossing guards across the county. And I think like in Simi, there were like 13 guards. I wish I brought that with me. I just feel for small Oak Park, you know, we're a lot smaller than Simi Valley, but we seem to have a high density of crossing guards. And we looked at some of these positions, like, do we still need them all there? Maybe, you know, traffic patterns have changed and they were there maybe for years. I'm just concerned where we can save some cost here because it seems to be going up quite highly. Like, we're projecting $255,000 for next year. I mean, we have a lot of costs here in Oak Park. We're trying to maintain our landscape and everything. So, trying to find out how we can work with the school district on this.
Well, I mean, I think, and that's part of it, you know, it's us, you know, the MAC, us as well as Public Works that, you know, getting the county involved in here to maybe make those, you know, we're not traffic experts here, so when it comes to those types of decisions, we get the experts in, and that's when we rely on, you know, the county coming in to do their assessments and say, hey, is there a need or not? I'm more than happy to, whichever, if there's specific ones that you have in question here, is to call on the county and have them come out to review, to believe if they feel it's necessary, or if there's a new way where technology has gotten involved in helping with crosswalks, where there's potentially one-time costs and smaller ongoing costs. You know, those are things I don't know, but I would rely on the experts to help with making those decisions.
I used to live many years ago in San Jose. I moved here 15 years ago. My kids some of them go to school. And they had a program where the elementary schools would take the fifth graders, and these are for areas that were not, you know, dangerous, like right in front of an elementary school on a side road. And they would have fifth graders volunteer to be crossing guards just for like less, I'm not talking about a canine or anything, but you know, on some of the inside roads. And they would train them, and they loved it. It was like a thrill as a fifth grader that they got to be part of the crossing guards. And they had like shifts of 4 of them who rotated every week. So that was free. It was volunteer work by the fifth graders. So if it's an inside road,
I would have to run that by our JPA. I'm not sure how thrilled they would be about that. It sounds like an interesting idea. Just, you know, once again, we have to, you know, as risk, we have to assess our risk as well. And in those types of things, we would probably want to run by our JPA who make sure that it's creative. And I think maybe that is part of it is thinking outside. I think what your point really is that maybe we need to start thinking outside of the box instead of just continuing this pattern of you know, receiving all city managements and whatever they send us, we say okay and we move on with it and start saying, hey, what are some other options that we have here that could potentially bring down costs? Of course, we're open to those ideas.
Sure. Yeah, I just said my son, when he was a fifth grader, was thrilled to be selected. So I know kids love it, but
anytime you can empower kids to have responsibilities, and that is a good thing. I can see how they would be excited.
But I I know, you have to look at the risk, but I'm just giving some ideas, but anyway, that was my comments.
That's it.
Brian?
Okay, just doing some research on this, and I can see the challenge you have in terms of the not being able to meet the 3 criteria from the state of California for grants. I mean, your GPA is high, so you failed on that one. That's a wonderful fail. There are a lot of students who come from LA County, don't have the percentage that you need for just purely local, so you won't be able to meet that criteria because I think the state gives money, grant money, when you are benefiting the greatest number of students of that community. You have a high percentage of students from outside this community. And the third one is state gives money for economically disadvantaged communities, which we are not. So all 3 you can't meet. So I understand my initial question is why aren't you going for grants? I can see you're not going to get them.
Yeah, and I appreciate you raising that point, because I think one of the misconceptions is that Oak Park Unified School District, being in an affluent area, receives all this massive amounts of money, but we're actually in the bottom 10 percentile in the state per pupil of funding that we receive. So it is, we don't have available, when that COVID money came in and everybody's saying, what are you doing with all that COVID money? Because so much of it was based off of the title funds received, which is really a community based on the federal number of a community living in poverty, we failed there. And so we saw fractions of what, when we were getting like 100,000 and other districts are getting millions and millions and some tens of millions of dollars. And we saw, under hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it is a misconception out there. And so I do appreciate you bringing that up, but I know that you want to kind of get some more to say.
I guess the next thing was, I'm looking at the rate, $35.77 to get on what you said. I'm going to assume here, there's an administrative fee. This isn't, a crossing guard isn't making that money an hour. So, in who you're working with, or what was the name of it? Also management. They're taking a cut of this money for their administrative fee, whether it's administrative secretarial, whatever the case might be. Is there any way in your discussions in the formula of money that they can reduce or eliminate the administrative component? I mean, we're all for crossing guards, and crossing guards, they're making $35 an hour. I'm thinking I might do that too, But the point is, I'm really kind of uncomfortable paying for administrative fee out of our budget.
Well, that does beg a question, and I do think we are pictures of habit here, or at least, this is what's happened with this sort of agreement as things come in, in the rhythm and flow of the budget, and as they come into the year, this has sort of been kind of like clockwork, and maybe it is a time to revisit it. And I'm more than happy, once again, to even speak with Public Works and talking about, based on our relation, how, yes, we are contracting, but we're being reimbursed what that looks like, and is there, what that vehicle would look like, or our obligation to say, hey, should we go back out, should we go out for an RFP on this, and let some competition come in to say, hey, to your point, that's where they get to compete against each other, to say, hey, we'll let multiple companies discuss rates, and so we can at least say that it's competitive and at market rate.
210,000 is approximately 20% of our annual budget. I mean, crossing guards are essential, okay? Not complaining, but every month we get residents come in
to that as well.
Thank you so much.
All right, Ms. Enrique.
Just one other comment. I think it's a great idea to first to, look at some competitors. But, in terms of the admin fee, I don't know if you were thinking about admin fee, but typically it's, 40 to 60% of what we're seeing is per hour goes to the company. So an admin fee is, what you're describing as the administrative type stuff, which is important, but it's really about profits. And so I think there could be some opportunities there.
Yeah, and once again, I could request a breakdown of that rate and see if that's something they're willing to provide.
Great, thank you.
Okay, great. So my comment is, I think you heard everyone regarding concern about the budget, okay? So, like what you said, we're not experts on traffic situation or risk management, so maybe reducing 13 to 12 might be too risky. In terms of OCP management, I'd just like to let you know, I'm also from the service industry, and I charge a lot. And I want to pay for the best. If somebody wants, to deliver services, I don't scheme on that. So maybe the solution here is to, because of the budget constraint, is to cut the money that we are giving to you. So instead of paying the actuals, maybe we say, we're just going to give you, say, 180,000, and the school district will pay for whatever is in excess of that 180,000 that we can budget and allocate. And still, you can go with your 13 guards and still go with the best. If you think all CP management is doing a good job, still go with them. And just for us, to make sure that we balance the budget, we cap it at 180, or whatever the number is. What do you think of that suggestion?
Well, what I can say is this, we are truly grateful for the partnership that we've had with MAC. I mean, every time when we did come, I remember Alon, who was on the board on MAC, making a very impassioned speech, on our behalf, and it's something that we don't take lightly, and we're very appreciative of the resources. And we do have we have to do the same constraints that we have. And so what I would say is ultimately you have to make the best decision, which we often have to make for as a board. And I will say I will try. I don't want to make any decision for you. What I'll say is I'll trust in the decision that you guys make, knowing that we have a long history dating back to even when I was in high school, and and know that we will be grateful for what you provide to us. Knowing that these aren't easy decisions. I always tell everybody as a CEO, I can do anything you want. I just can't do everything. I know that's what you guys are faced with as well, and trying to balance, the community's desires as well as, helping us out.
So,
I've got a question. Is there an opportunity to go back to Public Works and ask them to do a flow?
I wouldn't see why not.
I don't know, that's a good question.
Because they do charge us when they come out for landscape, right, Dale? Like, will Public
No,
Works?
I have no problem reaching out and making phone calls and having discussions with people,
Because if our 50% of our students are out of district now, is that true? About 50% are out of district, then we don't have that many walking to school. I'm just wondering whether things have changed over time. Do we still need 13 crossing guards, and how many students are?
well, what about those who are walking to schools?
Well, yeah, we want to.
It's people being dropped off by cars, and
Yeah.
the increase in traffic that has made it pretty dangerous, and I can assure
So
you,
it's
if I've
the
ever
cars more.
Yeah, because you'll have, as you get closer and closer to a school, the traffic gets more condensed, and so what parents, a lot of the times that they like to do is just maybe drop off on Canaan and let the kids walk from there, and that creates, so it's where they're dropping their children off as well. But by all means, I think that's something we can explore in terms of seeing, based on the criteria that the county uses to approve or say, hey, we recommend crossing guard, does that still hold true to the 13?
Yeah, are there ways to optimize?
There's nothing
what we're doing
wrong
with
with
this?
it.
Like you said, we step and repeat year after year. Maybe it's an opportunity for us to examine some of the decisions at some point.
I just just one last comment I want to make was I know some districts, the school districts are paying entirely for their crossing guards. I think we looked at some.
Yeah, that was mentioned about the city of Thousand Oaks last time, that's wrong. That was, the city of Thousand Oaks pays for all of the school crossing guards for the Canal Valley Unified. And we can get Cindy an article from the Acorn about that, because it was a big public issue. The guidance from the state, and there's literature that I know that Dale said they have in their information for you about the CDSA surveying the fact that almost all school districts have a local municipality picking up transportation, public safety funding. And it's a real rarity when it's not. I've been checking some of it's been kind of funny. I wanted to ask about other MACs. So I had someone sitting across the table from me from the Solus MAC, and we've got a school there. I said, how do you pay for your crossing guards? And the answer was, we don't have them. Because there are only 248 students, and it's a very rural community. And that is the circumstance of some of our MACs. We are very different. We're twice the population of Westlake Village, but we don't have a city. So we have urban issues and many crossing points, so we have a greater requirement. So I just want to set that straight. It is really a municipal responsibility to fund transportation, public safety.
Okay.
The information that you received in your packet last month indicated that Agoura Hills, Camarillo, Fillmore, Moore Park, Oxnard, Simi Valley, Thousand Oaks, and Westlake Village, all of their crossing guards are paid for by the city. Port Hueneme and Ventura jointly with the school district, and only Moore Park USD and Santa Paula USD are paid for by the school district.
Okay.
So it does seem to continue to be a municipal expense, paid for by the cities, so it's not just Oak Park.
All right. That's good. I guess you have to come back to us regarding some of our questions. Traffic study, and then if we and if we cap the amount, will be what will be the impact of that? Okay. You have a question?
Supervisor Guerrero, last time we were having this discussion, Chief Staff Mark Perryman had said that the Board of Supervisors is going to be approving the budget June, but there is, I think his words were wiggle room. Flexibility. Wiggle room is my word. Mark wouldn't say that. But so if we go forward, I'm comfortable with this number 210. But the gentleman,
It's 255.
or 255, I should say, projected there. Gentlemen go back and they do some research over the next month, couple of months, come back to us later in the summer, finding cost efficiencies. That 255 can be adjusted, right, through Public Works and through the budget process. You can make that happen.
Yeah, I'd like to share with you what I've learned since last year, which was my first year as a supervisor, and I had not fully pulled back the curtain to understand how it all works. But to answer your question, and then to give a little context, to answer your question up front, yes, we can make changes to CSA4 budget, frankly, in the near term, and any time during the year, with enough interaction with the agencies and any kind of contracting responsibilities. But the truth is, all the budgets have already been submitted. CSA4 has been submitted by Public Works. Public Works' budget's been submitted to the CEO's office. The sheriff's budget's in. All of the budgets are already in. There's a little bit of devil in the details, working around the edges before it actually comes to us and we vote on it in June. And at that time, we can still make changes. We can make changes then, and even after we adopt it, we can make changes, but it would have to come back for a budget, for a vote of the board.
And that's what
Which is
we do.
doable. Which is doable.
And maybe, in terms of how we have been operating, we work, every time all city management sends us the pricing for the year, we immediately send it off to the county public works to say, hey, this is what we've received. So, and I don't know if that's part of the process that we want to change as well, is how is, how is that communicated? How are these discussions had? Because, and yet we're just sort of operating in the absence of silence. We send it off to the county and never hear anything back. We would submit our, reimbursements and get it was just more like clockwork. And if you want more opportunities for discussion and review, I have to send a message out to the county to say, hey, is there a forum that we should have where we meet annually, someone from the county, someone from the MAC that represents, and have, when that pricing sheet comes in, sit down and have a discussion about it. I'm open to all those types of ideas. Like I said, it just became very mechanical in that sense, but I'm happy to communicate and offer myself as part of that.
When you reach out to the county, who you reach out to?
That individual has changed.
Oh, I'm sure. But I mean, what
It's probably George. It used to be. It's probably George.
That's correct.
It's
George.
I think it's only become recently more front and center because it's become so much more expensive, so much a large component of the CSA floor budget. And the CSA floor budget has started to become, we focused on it more because of the concerns about keeping it salted in out years as we look 4 or 5 years out. And, so I think this greater scrutiny is.
And looking at that sheet, you can see it's, not only has it increased, it's increased drastically, where in many ways, there was a number of years where it was actually saving money for the budget because of the budget to actuals, there's a big gap there. That money falls to the bottom line, I can only assume, like we do, money falls there. We like it when money falls to the bottom line because that can be swept and used for other things. But now you can see that trend is not happening. Not only not happening, the ask is growing, and there's no savings. So it's like a double whammy. So I get all that. I can see, from going from $50-something thousand, now $200,000 more. I think there is a need to, at the very least, do some of the things. Do our due diligence of some of the things we've said here in terms of revisiting. Is there this is me making sure I have what you've been asked. Is revisit the 13. Does it still meet the standards that are set forth by the transportation department? Do they qualify sort of as an approved crosswalk?
For any changes to be made before at least the initial vote, we have to do it pretty quick. I'm not sure that it would. We're going to act on the. We're going to act. The board will act on the overall county budget in June, but it can always come back, and if it's just a smaller, simple change, or $10,000 to $30,000, something that actually probably be put on consent if there's not a lot of drama around it. But it would any kind of modifications to this would have to come back to the board.
Yeah, but going back to the question, what can the school district absorb in terms of the excess, right? I mean, you can also do some gymnastics on the numbers if ever this goes overboard, because this can be continuing forever because you don't raise our taxes here, right?
And I'd like to think I get to make all the decisions, but that being said, I get to, yes, all of it is like what you guys are doing up here, it's resource allocation, right? So these are discussions that, of course, I need to bring back because we are in the budget adoption season as well. And it's all information that I would need to know in terms of, for me to say, I can, pull my wallet out to see what we can offer to, what I would say is, obviously, if there is a difference between what the MAC is able to provide and what this number is, that is something that would, of course, be important to us and for us to sit down and say, hey, what resources do we want to provide? And when I say just resources, where does that come from? Does it come from our unrestricted general fund? Is there other monies that we can use? And those are all internal decisions that we have to make, knowing that, first and foremost, that, our unrestricted dollars that come in, we want them to, impact mostly in the classroom, the process of learning in there, and then sometimes have to be created with these types of things.
All right.
Okay, one question. So, the contract period is for
Yeah, our fiscal year, July 1 through June 30.
Okay, is it evergreen, or how is that? It's just you review it?
Yep, annually.
Okay, and then when is it reviewed and approved? What month or time?
Now.
Now, okay. Okay, so is there an opportunity for you to be?
We're on, just as you guys are, we'd be, time would be of the essence on this one, and in many ways, maybe something for, I would say, to me, I'd say, personally, I believe the RFP process at this point is probably we're a little bit behind on that one. It would be something we want to look at for, the following, not this coming up school year, but the following school year. But I do believe at the very least, for this coming up year, to get it, to get a breakdown from all city management on what their rates are, and at the very least let them know that we're, I have no problem saying, hey, these discussions are coming up, and
Right.
there's a spotlight on this right now, and that we're looking at a potential RFP process. Is there anything you want to look at here in the numbers? I don't mind having those conversations.
Yeah, because at a 35% profit margin, let's say, conservative, that's $90,000 out of a 255. I understand everyone has a profit, but I think going out competitively and letting them know, even if they, brought it down 15-20% less, whether.
And we have to make tough decisions, because going back to what Mr. JL said earlier, is, they have some pretty fantastic employees out there, all city managers. They really have been doing a wonderful job. We honor a lot of them because they really do take their job and trying to build relationships with kids, in small moments.
Actually, the relationship with the kids really, because my kids go to Medea and they also like to coincide, and I can tell you that they're really nice folks.
Yes.
One was actually voted the crossing guard of the year.
Oh, there you go.
Well, through
The Medea Creek one, correct?
Medea Creek, right.
Yeah. All right. Okay, any other question? So you get back to us